views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Detroit sports truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct.
Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 206 of the Detroit Sports Truth on Spreaker, the show that actually gets it right and reveals the truth instead of just being honest with lazy opinions. I'm Taylor Phillips. I'm live from my basement apartment office in the northern outskirts of McBain, Michigan. And with me on Facebook Messenger audio from the state of Georgia, as always, is my co-host Ed Smith. Thanks so much for being on here with me. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm feeling wonderful, Taylor, especially even more so after this, as you could say, chaotic first weekend. As per usual, it seems to be every year now for the NCAA tournament. It is March Madness for a reason, but so far, this year it seems to be more kooky and chaotic than ever before. So many upsets, so many double-digit teams upending high-ranked teams that were favored to go far, possibly even win the whole tournament. And we definitely got one that we're going to talk about very, very shortly here. But I'm just ready to get the whole episode started and going here.
Yeah, we got college hoops to start off with, plus the Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers, and some shocking news regarding Detroit Sports 105.1. But let's start off with the biggest upset this NCAA tournament, at least.
Valentine for the win!
He don't got it. Because the Michigan State Spartans, ranked second in the nation, got upset in the round of 64 by the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. 90-81. The worst part of it is Sparty never had the freaking lead.
A wire-to-wire game. You would think, if you said, okay, in a game between Michigan State and Middle Tennessee State, this was a wire-to-wire game, you would think, okay, Michigan State was the team. Nope, it was the freaking Blue Raiders. Astounding.
Astounding indeed. One main problem that I found, Michigan State was not playing defense, especially from the three-point line, especially the way the Pistons have been lacking defense. Not just from the paint, but from the three-point line. It
was just, listen, if you give up 90 points, it shows that you in college hoops, I would say, NBA, it'd be shocking nowadays to see someone not get 90 points. But if you give up 90 points in a college hoops game, it shows you either lacked some fundamentals on defense, or the team just got a hot hand and just every shot, it seemed, kept falling down. I think this is a little bit of both in this regard where, give credit to Middle Tennessee State. They hit their shots, whereas MSU couldn't. But my God, you give up 90 points to Middle Tennessee State, and you're the Michigan State Spartans, the second-ranked team in the nation, number 2 seed in your region, a team that a lot of people, myself included, had a good shot not only get to the Final Four, but possibly even win the national championship. You let that team score 90 points on you? You must be embarrassed of yourself. You must be ashamed of yourselves.
And discouraged.
I don't know if I would be able to show my face in these Lansing if I had been one of those players on that team.
I know it's just humiliating, embarrassing, ashaming, and discouraging. Shocking as well. Yeah, you just combine all those together.
It was an absolute perfect storm of all that. A concoction of absolute chaos, and it led to a gigantic upset. It supersedes what we've seen so far this year, whether it be Yale, whether it be Stephen F. Austin, who gave a stone cold stunner to West Virginia. And not to mention, I guess you could say, Little Rock, Arkansas, Little Rock, the Trojans, upended Purdue. Freaking Purdue got knocked off in the first round by Arkansas Little Rock. I mean, if anything, you want to talk about, to me, that's probably a more embarrassing loss than what Michigan State had, because Matt Painter, the head coach, did some very, very poor mismanagement near the end of that game, which, if I'm a person in West Lafayette, I would want that guy fired at this instant.
Right. Matt Painter. Jeff Moss wanted Matt Painter fired too. But let's go back to Michigan State. On that day, 10 years ago, they were upset by Old Dominion in 2006. And here we are 10 years later, they get upset by the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State.
Good eye catch, Taylor. Did not notice that. Thank you. That was, quite eerie when you look back on it. Like, wow, these two things happened and occurred on this exact date in history.
Right, and I was going to mention that this spells a bad omen for the green and white, and it's just a terrible travesty.
It's a horrifying way to end what I think many would say was a great regular season. Outstanding play out of conference, overcame some slow start and injury to star players early on to rebound, have a strong finish, and even win the conference title. But like I said before, was a team that many people thought was positioned enough where you had the senior leadership, you had the talent with one of your seniors, you have an all-time great coach, a well-recognizable name and program, and just a flat-out good all-around team. You would have thought, hey, watch out for this team. It's Sparty, it's Izzo, it's March, things could happen. But it was not the case yet again. And, listen, I'm one, far be it for me, of all people to discredit, Michigan State, what Michigan State has done in the time of Izzo era, but the fact still remains, despite all those Final Fours and everything he's been to, Izzo's only got one national title. And you would have thought by now he might have had at least 2 or 3. But he was slipping further and further away from him, and at some point, you have to wonder, will that ever happen? Will that time, that magic, that one shining moment per se, will that ever happen again for the Spartans under Izzo? Well, while he's still their coach, or will I have to wait until after his tenure is over? But it's just quite something odd to see here.
Yeah, and very odd, very frustrating.
There was a whole multitude of things that went wrong. Like I mentioned before, I think it was one of the things that we mentioned. I apologize for forgetting it now, but I'm pretty sure we could do it in hindsight. One of the things that Michigan State should have just focused on, protecting the ball.
Right.
They had 14 turnovers in this game. 14! Denzel Valentine, your senior leader, your supposed best player, he had 6 of those by himself. That's inexcusable from your senior guard, your senior star, your senior anything, especially the guy who's, without doubt, without question, the best player on your team. But to have 6 turnovers by himself in a home game, it's unacceptable. Flat out unacceptable.
And disgraceful, too.
Where is your honor, dirtbag? You are an absolute disgrace.
It just puts a bad footnote on the end of his collegiate career.
Yeah, and afterwards, Tom Izzo delivered an emotional message for Denzel Valentine. I actually refused to see the video, but that was because I just could not take this anymore. I decided to move on, but whatever he said, unless he tried to criticize Valentine in some way, he coddled him.
When were you so soft?
I think that's an interesting way of stating it. I think it was just him expressing disappointment that a player that had a great senior season just had an awful game, and that's a bad way for his college career to end. And I'm sure Valentine was a player that worked hard enough under Izzo during his time here that Izzo feels is a bit unjust in terms of universal karma at least, a bit unjust that a player of this caliber who worked so hard had to have his collegiate career end in such a way. So that's, I guess, be my takeaway from that. But, it's another thing that seemed eerie now, looking back on it. Middle Tennessee State got to a 15-2 start. That was just mind-boggling to witness. And like you mentioned before, not just playing defense, period, but especially around the three-point line. I think Middle Tennessee State, they were 11 of 19, whereas Michigan State was 11 of 24. So both teams had the same amount of threes, but Middle Tennessee State clearly was the more accurate of the two. And you combine that, all those factors, all those bad defense, horrible turnovers, and just letting a team, not just when they catch momentum, but stay on that momentum. No matter how many times you try to chip away, it takes one little play, one little stop, whatever, and it goes the other way, and then boom, you're back down to a deficit, and then wind up losing by 9 points.
And that's just you mentioned karma. Yeah, I would say karma, especially bad karma, is such a bitch. Especially, it may sound brutal, but it is the truth.
I mean,
if you let karma catch up to you, you're never going to win. Period. Against a struggling team, for example.
Yeah.
That's 15 seasons while you're second in the nation. Second in the nation by the AP poll, the AP Top 25. And let me stop, too, and say that Michigan State's athletic department this academic year should be ashamed, discouraged, and embarrassed. Because their football team, on their first trip to the college football playoff, got blasted and blanked by Alabama.
Are we back on the air?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, my Wi-Fi was not on my phone, so that must be you.
Yeah, and your anger, I think also your anger just knocked my connection out of some sort of weird telekinetic Jedi mind thing.
Apologies for that. Yeah, I was just going to mention that their athletic department this year should be ashamed of themselves. Their football team, after finishing 11-1 overall, 12-1 after winning the Big Ten Conference, they entered the college football playoff for the first time in school history, and they get blasted by Alabama, which admittedly they were just not ready for, but that was still disgraceful. And then on Thursday night, their hockey team loses in overtime to the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big Ten men's ice hockey tournament quarterfinal. And then the day after, their men's basketball team, ranked second in the nation again,
oh boy,
gets knocked out by a senseless non-underdog, non-deserving, not not winning deserved team in the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders.
It seems so far MSU is just showing a lot of things for shitting the bed in big spots lately. It's
this is
quite
a
troubling.
clean podcast here.
I'm sorry, sir. It's just the moment. I just had to call it like I see it right there, but it was just. Ugh. But I gotta remember, right? The format doesn't exactly call for that. This isn't exactly, sponsored, adult-oriented podcast. I do realize, right? The audience we're trying to reach here. MSU athletics have not had a good start. Not a good end to 2015. Certainly not a good start to 2016. But oh boy.
Right. Things can always be fixed, especially on this podcast, actually. But with all that out of the way, thank goodness for Chef Boyardee, let's segue to the Michigan Wolverines, who also lost.
For 3, yes, sir!
To the Notre Dame Fighting Irish the same day, a few hours later, 70 to 63. So all teams in the state of Michigan are done.
Yep. Unfortunately. This one, again, not quite as shocking or earth-shattering as it was.
Not shocking at all. It's expectedly close, but still, we knew who was going to win that one.
Well, not really, because after that first half, you would think, oh my goodness, if Michigan, if they could just, it looks like they were the more complete team here. The way they were performing, moving the ball, sharing the ball, not only knocking their shots, but getting other players involved. Derek Walton, just had an absolute great game in the first half, with not just finally nailing the shots, but also playing defense, getting the rebounds, which I think is something that really hasn't been talked about here. I think Walton, you can make an argument, he has been their best defensive rebounder this whole entire year, which is quite a statement on, I guess you could say, on how really Michigan doesn't have that much of a big man presence, but also probably a good job on how good of a job that Walton has done. Even though you're right, he's about a 6-foot point guard, but he's still your team's leading defending rebounder, or actually your best defending rebounder. So he showcased all of that, not to mention guys, Moritz Wagner. Oh my goodness, he had a great game against Tulsa, continued even here. He just got himself into foul trouble, but hey, young freshman from Berlin, he's going to learn, he's going to grow, he's going to get even better. But even still, you had a 12-point lead over a 6-seeded team at halftime, but give credit to Notre Dame here. They rebounded, they game planned, they schemed perfectly. That's what teams of their caliber, that's what 6 seeds should do over 11 seeds. They didn't get caught up in the moment. They regrouped, and they just hit Michigan back with everything they possibly could. And you saw how it proved in the end. Now, I will say, though, this game was still very close right to the very end, but it just came down to Notre Dame hit their shots. Michigan didn't. Namely, one, Zach Irvin didn't hit his shots. And granted, he was the hero of the Tulsa game, much appreciated, but my God, he was absolutely dreadful in this one. It was like, one of 20 from the field, or whatever the hell it was? Brick after brick after brick after brick.
Oh, man!
I gotta say this, when it came down to that last possession, why couldn't a guy like maybe Duncan Robinson, or even Irvin, or even, not Irvin, but even Walton, who shot for what seems when going down, why couldn't they get an opportunity to tie the game instead of Mr. Zach, let's play hero ball, even though every once in a while, it's the equivalent of what Jim Leland would do, where you put the likes of Don Kelly and Ryan Raven and Brandon Inch in the lineup every day, and in the hopes of saying, or against a certain pitcher saying, oh, I'm just doing it because I hope he runs into one. It's like that equivalent, because and that's just not a good job by John Beilein in my regard. I think you sit Walton, you have other guys have a chance at opportunities here. Robinson had a very good game as well. Muhammad Ali Abdur-Rahman, which I think you could say other than Wagner and especially Walton in that second game, where their three best was their best player without doubt, without question, through this tournament. The way he was driving to the hoop, setting things up, attacking the rim, he had it all there, and I hope to see more of him in the near future as well. But I guess you could say, even though it ended in a disappointment, as always, you're always going to feel disappointment when your season ends in the tournament. Michigan, really, I thought they closed as good as they possibly could have. This is a team last week was considered fringe bubble at best, and then they knocked off the best team in the conference, the undisputed regular season Big Ten champion, in the conference tournament with a last-second shot that basically put them in the national tournament. And then they had to pull out all the stuff that they could to win their first 4 game, which essentially was a play-in game. And then they took a six-seeded team in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to their absolute limit and gave it a good effort. There's really, granted, this is a team that did it without their 2 senior leaders, without Karis LeVert, without Spike Albrecht, And that's another thing you got to consider here, because if Spike Albrecht had not gotten hurt, I think you would have seen a lot of a load taking off of Derek Walton, which in turn would have led Walton to perform better. You would have seen his shot hit more. You would have seen him put up more points where he gets games where he scored, at least 15 or 20 or so on any given night. I think him having to carry the load at the point guard spot in the wake of Spike Albrecht's injury just tired him out, and you saw stretches where he had 0 points, 2 points, 3 points. He was still racking up assists as a point guard should be. He was still racking up rebounds, but he just couldn't get that shot to fall because, like I said, everything was just catching up to him. He just couldn't do every single thing. Listen, what Trey Burke did in 2012, unbelievable. It's going to be hard to replicate. You can't expect to see that every year. But with Walton, at least he had the rebounding and the assists and the passes down. Just didn't get that shot to fall through. But I think if you get a proper backup for Walton next year, you could take that load off of him, and you will really be able to see him shine through and really step up and perform. As for Zach Irvin, I'm not sure if he wants to declare, okay, but he's really going to have to work on that jump shot of his, because, oh my very goodness. And for John Beilein, I'm sure some fans, they wanted to, they drudged up the old, we got to fire Beilein, he's underperforming. He managed to pull a rabbit out of his hat here in this last part of the season, and without question, quieted down that minority vocal group that wanted him to possibly see a changing of the guard here. He definitely silenced them for another year for sure here. And I gotta say, talk about, I hate to be seen as one that wants to stir the stokes here, stir the fire here, stir the pot, whatever the case may be, and presenting hot takes. But I don't see this many people trying to do a call for change or whatever, because how long has it been since Tom Izzo won a national title? But we override that because of the success that he's had in conference, in the regular seasons, and still in the tournament, getting the Final Fours, getting the Elite Eights, national championship game appearances. But the fact still remains, it's now going to be 16 years since he last won a national title. So why don't we see more people criticize, give some criticism to Izzo? Well, because they got no problem bashing Beilein.
Right. Michigan giving the Irish all they can handle, but the Irish came back and just got the job done. Michigan didn't. Simple as that. So both Michigan State obviously are done. The 2 best college basketball teams in the state of Michigan done as done as everybody else in this state in terms of college basketball. As fun as March Madness is to me, this year not so much.
Well, for obvious reasons, but if you're like me, who, like I said, when you've seen how Michigan's performed in the regular season the past 2 years, you feel in some ways a bit content, seeing how wow, things could have been a little bit better, but look where they were to free themselves back up from, and if also, there's absolute shock and despair. Well, not despair, just absolute dumbfoundedness seeing this great Michigan State team. An unbelievable season, and they just threw it all away, literally. Puts things into perspective, like, if you pump yourself up too much, make one false move, and then boom, everything's down to crapper. So it's quite a way to end things in this season of college basketball for in-state teams, that's for sure.
That's exactly correct. Well, who knows what might happen in the round of 32? Who knows what might happen? Who knows who might move on to the Sweet 16? Who knows who might win it all? Whatever.
I gotta say, there's a couple of dark teams. Look out for Miami. I'll just say that. Look out for the Hurricanes. I'll just put that out there.
Right. That's fine. Yep. So, why don't we just move on and transition to the pro basketball?
Left sideline, three, and he answers.
Pistons, they won 2 straight. They just barely beat the Sacramento Kings 115-108. Sacramento, not a terrible team, but they're still struggling. They are still in 11th place at 26-42. And then they took care of the 14th place Brooklyn Nets with a 115-103 win. Let me see here. Wednesday they played the Atlanta Hawks and they lost.
Nail biter.
Yeah, they just didn't play much defense against Al Horford, Kyle Korver, and such, and Jeff Teague.
They didn't finish well. They just didn't finish that game well, period.
Right, that was
offensive,
just...
definitely defense, but especially offensive. Just bad possessions near the end.
Correct. Hawks, 3rd place now, 41-29. But since the Atlanta loss, Pistons, as I mentioned, won 2 straight and are still in 9th place because the Bulls have won 2 straight as well. Pistons 36-34, Bulls 35-33. Pistons in the Kings game got off to a hot start lately. Got off to a hot start in the first half. They scored about 65, 67 points at halftime. They let the Kings come back and tie it, but the Kings never had the lead since, I don't know, either the first half or probably never. Pistons won anyway, 115-108. Still got to improve on defense, but then in the Brooklyn Nets game, one thing that stood out to me in the 115-103 win was Aaron Baines scoring 21 points. 21. Yeah. He was rebounding the ball better, from what I saw.
Yeah, it showed. It was like he took the elements that you saw in a couple instances where he would face off against the Spurs, and he just was that Baines that we wanted to see. He was like that the whole entire game. He had a spark off the bench, which was absolutely needed. You need your second unit sometimes in games like this, games down the stretch, where you got to step up. It's put up or shut up. And Baines definitely put up tonight. Great effort, great performance in this role, but also, everybody else getting involved as well. Stanley Johnson hit a 3 or so. Good to see him coming back from his injury. Was it Anthony Tolliver had 4 threes in the second half, or was the case may be. So, and give credit though, Brooklyn, they hung around. They were trying to make things happen, but then just the threes took over, started raining down, and then Detroit they just pulled away. And they played with. I think they showed some toughness for once. Whereas we can't let this slip away from us. This is going right down to the wire here. If we want to get this playoff spot, we got to play like every single game, like if it was a game 7 of a best of 7 series. And I think they're playing with that energy, with that mindset. It's go for broke time here, and because it is. And so how they're doing it, if they're responding to it, gives me hope that maybe this team is not so mentally weak as I thought maybe they could be. But obviously, there's some work that still needs to be done. But they had a great showing, great performance tonight. It's a key contribution from one of their bench players of all teams. And granted, things could have didn't go exactly their way. The Bulls still won, but still, the way the Pistons they've been playing, they're just leaving this in their own hands. They're taking this into their own hands here. They're not letting anything shape their destiny here. So, the way they keep playing, they won't necessarily have to worry about hoping for other teams to beat the Bulls or who else is in front of them. Just play their game, take care of business their own way, and they have a good shot at making the playoffs, I believe. I still have holding on to that firm belief.
The Pistons have the Milwaukee Bucks, Orlando Magic, and Charlotte Hornets coming up in the 4, 5, 6 spots, the middle 3 games of their 9-game homestand. The longest homestand the Pistons have had in 35 years. As scheduled.
Yeah, and these next 3 games are extra. I guess you could say 2 of the 3 games are winnable because both teams have sub-500 records. Orlando's pretty sure, I believe, was on the verge of possibly getting eliminated from playoff contention. Milwaukee's still fighting, but they're on that fringe as well. Your next tough test undoubtedly will be against the Charlotte Hornets. Not only they're a team in front of you, but they've been, I think, one of the big surprises, or the feel-good surprises of the year, especially from the East. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. But, after that, I think that's where the start of their bulk, or not to say the bulk, the real tough test of their homestand, because they close it out with the Hawks again, then the Mavs, and then the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, quite interesting to see how that would work out. They play the Thunder and then the Mavs, but still, those are the teams they face to close out that big homestand.
That's right. The Hawks, Thunder, and Mavericks, 3 pretty good teams. A grand finale, the bottom 3 to the Pistons' 9-game homestand. Hawks again, 3rd place, 41-29. The Thunder, 48-22. The Mavericks hanging in there, 34-35, 8th in the West. They've lost 2 straight. They've lost 7 out of their last 10. And the last time the Pistons met the Mavericks, it was in Dallas about a couple weeks ago, and the Pistons beat the Mavericks 102-96, a game in which, again, Aaron Baines scored only 1 point, but earlier tonight he scored 21 against Brooklyn. And he played a lot more consistently compared to how he played in Dallas. It's just a wowing difference.
Got a much better presence in the paint. Wasn't afraid of taking a foul to get the shot up. But right, it's that type of basketball now where if you even breathe on somebody in the post, it seems you get called for a foul. So Baines took the contact, was coming, was able to fight through that, get some and ones, get some points for his team.
That's right, and Stanley Johnson and Anthony Tolliver have regained their form pretty much. Anthony Tolliver was hitting threes. Marcus Morris was hitting his threes last night. That was Friday. He was 6 for 6 from the 3-point line last night.
Impressive.
And, of course, Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond doing their things. But KCP is chipped in as well. We all know that. And then the Pistons meet the Chicago Bulls after their 9-game homestand on Saturday, April 2nd at United Center in Chicago, Illinois for a battle for 8th place in the Eastern Conference.
That might very well be the biggest game of the year for both teams because obviously the stakes that be on the line. And not to mention, it'll be good to see a high action, high pace, high stakes rather, drama-filled game featuring these two Central Division rivals again. Been a while since we've seen that.
Yeah, and we can't wait for that. This is going to be a good one. That's going to be a good one for sure.
If it goes 5 overtimes, then it'll be even better.
Yeah, we remember the quadruple overtime game in which the Pistons won. That was in the same building. Man, I can't wait for another one like that. But moving on here, we also have the Red Wings winning 2 straight as well. The Red Wings got the revenge on the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-1 in Columbus, Ohio at Nationwide Arena. Jimmy Howard played a stellar game, and then he started again. Both of his starts were due to Peter Mrazek's illness, which sent him out. And Jared Carew was called up from the Grand Rapids Griffins. And it appeared Howard had now won 2 straight. Because the Red Wings, a few hours ago, before this podcast, beat the Florida Panthers 5-3. They were down 3-1.
Yeah. Great show comeback on their part. Talking about showing mental toughness from the Pistons standpoint. Great show of mental fortitude for the Wings there because they were in a bit of a spot here and make things worse. They were on the road here. We've seen how things get up from standpoint, especially for Jimmy Howard, but he was able to suck it up, not let any more get by him, and then his team responded finally in turn by getting him some needed help, and just led to a big win here. 2 more crucial points. For once, they got the power play working. I think it started from the fact that they were able to get a late goal in that second period, rather. Some craziness, sure, but a public goal is a public goal, and it helped create huge momentum from that third period on, and they were just they're on and standing from that point. Whether it be Glenn Denning, Larkin, of course, Tatar, even everybody getting involved and contributing in their own way, and it just led to a big win for this Red Wings team as we get closer and closer to the postseason.
Yeah, the Red Wings are almost down to 10 games left. Yeah, they have 10 games left. They played 72.
Yep.
They are still in second place in the wild card standings. How about Luke Glendening, the game-winning goal on the same night Aaron Baines collected 21 points?
I mean, talk about your list of unlikely heroes for tonight.
Yeah, every dog has its day, huh?
That's saying something.
Yep. So the Red Wings...
as a blind nut, and even a broken clock is right twice a day.
36-25-11 is their record right now with 83 points. They are 3 up on the Philadelphia Flyers for that second wild card spot, of course. Plus, they're 2 back of both the Tampa Bay Lightning in third place in the Atlantic Division and the New York Islanders, of all teams, first place in the wild cards standings in the Eastern Conference. What is up with the Islanders?
It seems like I have no idea what's going on with them. It seems like they were being comfortable, but they have their own issues to work out themselves. But it's not that far behind because remember, the Pittsburgh Penguins are only 1 point ahead of the Islanders. And let's not forget, they are still going to be without Evgeny Malkin for the remainder of the regular season due to upper body injury. So I wouldn't be too surprised if Penguins lose a couple here, maybe split out that of one or even both of the wild card spots here. But if you're Detroit, like you mentioned before, they're only 3 points behind the Bruins for that third spot in the Atlantic Division. If they get in the top 3 division, I believe that would save them from the wild card per se. But they still got the work cut out for them. You know, they got to fend off the Flyers, and they got to hold their ground to make sure. Just hold their ground against the Flyers and do whatever they can. Stay closer to teams that are ahead of them. But the way things work out, I wouldn't be surprised. I think I'm almost expecting they'll find a way to get themselves into the playoffs again. You know, it's like the late stages of the Undertaker's once former WrestleMania streak. Somehow, some way, you knew the dead man was going to find a way to rise up and rise from the grave, essentially. And I think that's what the Red Wings find a way to do every year now, it seems. Just when you think they're dead, they're not.
Right. Wait until they run into a Brock Lesnar wall. But you were mentioning the Penguins. You were talking about them. They've won 5 straight, and they are 7-3-0 in their last 10 games. They are still in third place in the Metropolitan Division. The Metropolitan Division, 39-24-8, 32 losses altogether. Just 2 back of the Rangers, but 21 points behind the oh-so-dominant Washington Capitals, who are even 14 points ahead of the Western Conference leading Dallas Stars with 93 at 42-21-9. The Caps are 51-14-5 with 107, and they've won just 2 straight. They're coming off a 4-1 win over the Nashville Predators. They're at Pittsburgh on Sunday. It's going to be an afternoon game on NBC with Mike Emmerich and Eddie Olczyk. Oh, wait, it's at 6 o'clock. My mistake. It's on NBCSN, at least. Oh, drat. Also at 8:30 on NBCSN, the Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks at United Center. But the Red Wings, with momentum here, winning 2 straight, trying to get out of the wild card gutter. And
I mean, it's great to like you said, it's home stretch time. This is where you, like I mentioned before, because you put up or shut up. You got to put everything on the table here. Everything comes up. It's essentially you're playing a game of chance, but trying to make your own luck, and that's what the Red Wings and Pistons have both been doing as of late.
Yep, that's true. Let's move on to the Tigers, shall we?
That one is long gone.
We are now hearing that Tigers backup outfielder Cameron Maitman will unlikely be ready for opening day. Meantime, the Tigers-Marlins game at somewhere in the Marlins' home of spring training baseball got rained out and canceled. Before that, though, the Tigers beat the Astros 7-3 in Kissimmee, Florida at Osceola County Stadium. And then they swept the St. Louis Cardinals 5-4 and 2-0 in the home-and-home set. So on Sunday at 1:05, they have a split squad doubleheader in Orlando against the Braves and in Lakeland against the Washington Nationals. Then they welcome the Phillies and Blue Jays in on Monday and Tuesday at 1:05. Then they have their first and only day off on spring training on Wednesday the 23rd before they head to the Blue Jays spring training home at 1:07, the Toronto Blue Jays. Then they host the Braves on Friday and visit the Philadelphia Phillies Saturday. So with that, before we get to 5 questions here, Ed, shocking news, Detroit Sports 105.1 program director Dave Shore has fired Matt Derry, Drew Sharp, and Rob Pascoe from the station. Not because of Drew Sharp's plagiarism. Only the Detroit Free Press would do that, and they always decide not to because they're coddling of Drew Sharp and they're ignorant and lazy. So we need not bother with them. But still shocking news that Derry and Sharp got fired, especially because the DSR was the first to report it. So Dave Shore and Lindsey Hunter will take over starting on Monday.
Yeah, they'll explode in the airways by then if they haven't already.
Yeah, it was for some other reason. We'll get further detail from Jeff Moss and Justin Spiro of the Detroit Sports Rag. You can follow Jeff Moss on Twitter at Jeff Moss DSR. You can follow Justin Spiro on Twitter at Darko State News. Speaking of Matt Derry, he changed his Twitter handle from Derry1051 to Derry Speaks. Drew Sharp at Drew Sharp, always the same. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows how terrible he is altogether. So with that being said, it is now time for 5 questions.
It's time for 5 questions with Taylor the Gator Phillips.
Question number 1. Should the Spartans be ashamed and discouraged for that upset loss to the Blue Raiders? Hey, Ed, you still awake?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's time for 5 questions. I already hit the bumper. Question number 1. Should the Spartans be ashamed and discouraged for that upset loss to the Blue Raiders?
Without question, when you're a team that's favored to possibly win the national championship and you go 1 and done to a 15th seed, shame and disappointment are words that I can only begin to use to describe.
right, and Mark D'Antonio would feel the same way.
Next question.
Question number 2, what do you think is going to happen in the offseason after the Wolverines lost to the Fighting Irish?
I think you're going to see, hopefully, some off-season improvement from Zach Griffin on his three-point shot. I think you see Moritz Wagner. Phillips a little bit more weight in the weight room, implement more, digest more of what Beilein has to offer with this system, how he runs the floor and everything. I think we could see him getting more starting minutes, or rather more playing time next season for sure, because I think the kid has a lot of potential. That's among other things for this team to get better.
Next question.
Question number 3, are the Pistons hanging by a thread?
I would say by a thread. I mean, in terms of standings, yes, the way they've been playing, they have some confidence about themselves personally. Like, oh my goodness, what could go wrong here? Whereas the Bulls, they've had to go through everything here to maintain their hold on this 8th spot. So I think, if anything that's playing by a thread right now is Chicago.
Next question.
Question number 4, is it easier, is it tougher, is it in between for the Red Wings to make the playoffs again for a 25th consecutive season with a more difficult schedule ahead toward the end of the season after winning 2 straight over the Columbus Blue Jackets and Florida Panthers?
Probably a little bit tougher because, like you mentioned, that schedule, the teams that they're facing will make things difficult on the forefront by default. So, like I said, there's players they're so used to by now. It's almost second nature for them to form well enough to get yourself in there, give yourself a chance to go deep. But again, how many times can you keep going to that well before it finally dries up on you? And they'll get their test once again with their schedule of games coming up.
Next question.
And finally, question number 5, how shocked are you to hear Matt Derry, Drew Sharp, and Rob Pascoe got fired from Detroit Sports 105.1?
Not entirely shocked. At least for once, one instance, there is some level of universal karma for Drew Sharp. That's what you get for stealing so much work, you unreflected plagiarist. And, I really don't care that much at all about Matt Derry. I thought he was, useful as the update guy for the Millennium roster. Then he tried his own thing. I thought he was okay when he wasn't trying to, be like everybody else shtick, but then, once the station trying to influence more people on there, just became unlistenable to me. So I'm not entirely surprised. It reeks of a move of desperation because this is a station that's got very, very abysmally low ratings month in and month out on a constant basis. You have to wonder how much longer are they considering keeping the station in this format. Are they going to revamp it, kill the whole thing, whatever the case may be? Or because now you're seeing the moves here, like this is like almost like a last minute move of desperation.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear it too. I thought they wouldn't get fired. I thought they would stick around much longer, considering the fact that all Detroit media is lazy.
Yeah, but when you're a station, like I said, money talks, BS does the laundry, as some people might say.
Someone's got to give.
Yeah, and in this instance, ratings talk. If you have very, very low, horrible ratings, not really gonna stand out. I mean, I think there's some content in here that you can do slightly. They're neck and neck in terms of production and just quality. And some of the worst crap we do at 97.1, but the difference is 97.1 draws ratings. This station doesn't.
Right. 97.1 should change their format to entertainment to even up their ratings to like a 14.7.
I will say this though, like if you did a blind listening test, I think you would find 97.1 and this to be entertaining. It's just when you take off the blindfold and say, "Oh wait, you're a sports station. You're talking about other crap." That's where the turnoff is for me. If they didn't identify themselves as a sports station, I would on some instances find 97.1 to be enjoyable to listen to, but I just don't, and I can't.
That's true. I'm with you. So for all the listeners and fans out there, if you want to answer those questions, just replay the episode and answer them in the comment bank below this episode. Also, please share this podcast on all social media networks. And thanks very much. And please keep all your content clean. I forgot to mention that before we got started on our topics, and I sincerely apologize. But anyway, that wraps it up for episode 206 of the Detroit Sports Truth. Ed, thanks so much for your help again. I'll talk to you Tuesday at 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I got a state quarterfinal. I got a state quarterfinal game to go to as Big Rapids takes on Essexville Garber, possibly at Bay City Central. It's going to be almost 2 hours over there, but the game will tip off at 7.
Best of luck over there, Finn Taylor.
Thanks. I'll try to get a quick dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings before I get home.
Yeah.
But I'll talk to you nonetheless at 12:30 for episode 207.
All right, looking forward to it. Take care, till then, my friend.
Yep, thanks. And for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there's anything you fans want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. Talk to you Tuesday at 12:30 for episode 207. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appétit.